I think part of our problem has been over the years that we keep lying to ourselves that, you know, when we were very wealthy, freedom does create, it's a mixed bag. It creates a lot of wealth. When there's a lot of wealth, all people think about is consumerism and how you can get your share of the wealth one way or the other with the use of government. And then it is forgotten about how the wealth has been created. So we drift, but we finally get to the point after you use up the savings and you use up the credit and you use up the money, then we're back to, well, what's the problem? Well, the problem is productivity. And that is what we've undermined. Our good jobs have gone overseas. But we can't keep lying to ourselves. Although I talk a lot about our problems, I'm always pleased that people become more optimistic, because it seems like if we recognize the problems, are honest with ourselves, and know what the treatment is, it should give us a reason to be optimistic that we can achieve a solution for our problem. There's so much deceit that goes on. You know, this week they said there were a couple 100,000 new jobs, which is all that wonderful, but they didn't tell you that 1.2 million dropped out of the workforce, and that is why the figures look so much better. So they lie and fib to us. They say there's no inflation. Nobody believes it's only 2% inflation. If it even is 2%, who has the right to steal 2% of your money every year? You know, that's what's wrong. So the unemployment figures and the inflation figures are all deception. Even in foreign policy, they come up with terms that just don't want to tell the truth. They talk about torture being an enhanced interrogation technique. They won't call it torture, but they're allowed to have enhanced interrogation technique, so that not many people will think about it. Now, war, no, we don't go to war anymore. All we do is use kinetic military operations. And that's supposed to, you know, be the code word for war. So I think we should make certain that we deal with in reality, that we know the definitions of words, that we don't let people to put words in our mouth, that we don't have to, you know, defend ourselves to the point in saying, oh, because you believe in freedom, you don't care about people. But if you understood freedom and you were, you know, if you were inclined to want to help poor people and you want to be a humanitarian, there's no other way you can do it. Authoritarianism is not humanitarianism. It doesn't work. For me, the solution is the true understanding of what freedom is all about. And once we understand that freedom is something we all share in, regardless of our lifestyle, regardless of our personal behaviors, regardless of how we want to spend our money, we all should come together with the issue of freedom. If you reject the notion that you don't believe that force should be used by individuals or by the government to try to mold the economy, mold personal behavior, or mold the other countries and tell other countries how to live, we can bring people together if we respect them for their rights to their life, and even if they use their life or use their money in a way we disagree with. That is the part that's so hard for people to understand. Some people say, well, I understand that on economics. I'd like to spend my money. But some of these people in social surroundings, they use their lives in a way I think it's just terrible what they do. They don't go to church and they drink beer and they do these other things. I'm going to instruct them. So if you do that, it won't work. But we do it with religion pretty well. We understand the First Amendment, and we know that we can use the First Amendment to read what we want intellectually. We can have our own religious beliefs, or we can reject our religious beliefs. But so often when it comes to personal habits and things, no, we can't allow the people to make up their own mind. It's gotten to such an extent now that the federal government feels compelled to tell us whether or not we can drink raw milk. I think we're adult enough to make our own decisions on what we drink. And I think this obsession with regulating personal behavior has given us this ill-advised war on drugs. The war on drugs has not accomplished anything. It's more drugs than ever. More people die from drug overdoses than ever before. Drugs are bad. Addictions are bad. Prescription drugs are bad. But the question is, can a bunch of bureaucrats turn everything that we do, all addiction, into a crime? Is that the solution? Should we put all alcoholics in prison because they drink too much alcohol? No, we've come around to accepting that. But why have we turned this drug problem into a crime problem? And yet, to me, the war on drugs have become the crime because they use that as an excuse to bust into our houses and disrespect all our civil liberties in the excuse that we got to find out what people are doing. We have an opportunity now to, restate these principles. They're absolutely necessary, and the reception is very, very good. Now, John Adams and Sam Adams said that you don't have to wait until you get a majority. It's tough. Matter of fact, majorities generally go along with leadership. When people lead the charge and they say, we believe in liberty, even in our own revolution, they said probably 10% or so really understood the issues, but the majority comes along. So he emphasized, you don't have to wait for a majority. The people who change a country are usually led by an irate, tireless minority who actually believed in something. That's what we have today. Well, I think the biggest job is to understand that liberty means that it isn't that we don't care, it's just that we want to solve our problems in a different fashion. Through voluntarism, not through force. That's what liberty is all about. The purpose, there are limited needs for the government and for our national defense, but there has to be an arbitrator with the use of force. Because of this, you have to reject the use of force. You have to change people in a voluntary way. You have responsibility for oneself, that's very important, but also families and raising children, all these other ways. That is so much different than turning all this over to the government. My belief is that we as individuals in our lifetime, we should seek and improve and try to become more virtuous and more sophisticated and more able to take care of ourselves. And work for our excellence. Now, if you decide that the government, that's a good idea, if you decide that the government should tell us how to be virtuous and how to work for excellence and how to make the world a better place by use of force, it can only be done with the destruction of liberty. And that is what's happened to us. We have gotten careless, we got real rich, we thought that we concentrated on the material benefits, and we forgot about what freedom is all about. And that's why we need a renewed effort. We don't have to go back to the Dark Ages. We don't even have to go back to exactly the gold standard we had. We don't need to. We need to build on what we had. We had this great opportunity, the best in the history of the world, the largest and the richest middle class ever. So we need to pick up the pieces and then improve upon it. The ideas of liberty have been around since the Magna Carta. And here our own government's starting to threaten and undermine some of the principles of the Magna Carta. So we need to pick up those pieces and advance forward and refine this whole understanding of liberty. But let me tell you, from my travels and visits around the country and in the last 5 years has been so dramatically different than it was 25 years ago. It's out of need, it's out of education, and it's an idea whose time has come. I am delighted to come here and share that with you. And welcome to the revolution. Key states that would be most receptive. I didn't know enough about the state to say, yes, it probably will be. So I am delighted to learn that they are very excited about the message that we are delivering.